It's co-op and sabotage. One versus many when hell turned against the humans. Based on 2001 A Space Odyssey, the movie.
And today we'll be teaching you how to play 2001 A Space Odyssey, the board game designed by Phil Walker Harding and published by Maestro Media.
And hi everyone, it's Stella.
And Tarrant, welcome to Meeple University.
And hey, if you enjoyed this video after watching, like, subscribe and comments, you know what to do. Alright, now let's get to the classroom.
2001 A Space Odyssey, the game, follows the journey of Dr. Dave Bowman and his colleagues to Jupiter, where en route they face the hazards of the ship's AI control system HAL 9000, which starts to impede their progress and ultimately tries to kill them. In the game, one player plays as HAL, attempting to disrupt the crew members by breaking down the ship's systems, shutting down doors, and more. All of the other players play as crew members, and they'll need to work together to try to repair the damages that HAL has been causing, and ultimately get the logic sequence cards in hand that they need to disconnect HAL at the core. Whoever is first to complete their objective of disabling their opponents will be the winner. To set up, lay out the board. Place the 4 system markers onto their matching spaces in the corners showing on the operational sides. Place the HAL marker on the space labelled 6. Stack the 7 door tokens somewhere near the board. Choose your characters. One player will play as HAL and each of the others will choose a crew member. Among the crew members, one player must play as Dave Bowman. The others may freely choose among Frank Poole, who was the other active crew member in the film, or from Hunter, Whitehead or Kaminsky, who were briefly seen in the film in suspended animation. Place crew standees in the pod bay. Shuffle all of the crew member cards with this back, and place them next to the draw discard trash card. Then deal each player a starting hand of 2 cards. Randomly give one crew member the monolith. That player will be the first crew member to take a turn. The HAL player takes and sets up the HAL screen, shuffles and places a draw deck of HAL cards on their left, leaving a space for discards on the right, and keeps the HAL trash card nearby. HAL draws a starting hand of 6 cards, and then after secretly looking through the cards, chooses 3 to place face up in front of the HAL screen, visible to the crew member players, keeping the other 3 secret. I'll explain the implications of this choice shortly. You're now ready to play. 2001 A Space Odyssey is an asymmetrical one versus many game of movement and cards. Each side, HAL and the crew members working cooperatively, has its own deck of cards. And the cards within those decks are going to drive a lot of the actions which will allow each side to try to defeat the other. The crew members will also need to move around the ship to take a number of their actions, while HAL, the omniscient AI which controls the entire ship, has no onboard moving presence. HAL is trying to shut down the ship and kill the crew members, and does this each turn by playing cards from hand to cause the ship's 4 different systems to malfunction. The first 3 systems, gravity, memory, and comms, require 4 malfunction cards to terminate their functionality. As each of these is terminated, it makes the crew members weaker, for example, slowing down their movement or reducing their hand size. And HAL wins the game if all 3 of those systems are ever terminated. The other way for HAL to win is to disable life support, and this requires 7 malfunction cards. As such, a major focus of HAL's play is to hunt through this deck to find and then tactically play the right malfunction cards, and use other tricks to impede the crew members' attempts to make repairs. The crew members, on the other hand, need to try to disable the HAL core. In the crew deck, there are 12 cards which look like these, logic cards with a number ranging between 1 and 12. The crew members need to find ways to draw cards and meet up around the ship to exchange cards with each other, aiming to get sequences of 3 adjacent logic cards that they can take to the core to spend to disable the core. HAL is weakened each time this is done, and if the crew members can do this 3 times, they'll deactivate HAL and win the game. The game has important rules relating to information and communication. After all, HAL is everywhere on the ship, sees and hears all. But HAL is also a machine, and the inner workings are known, to some extent, to the crew. This relationship is reflected in the following rules. The HAL player always holds a full hand of cards. This begins at size 6, but dwindles to as low as 4 as players start to deactivate the core. And HAL's hand is always partially visible to the crew member players, with 3 cards laying face up in front of the screen, and the rest, which will begin at 3 but dwindle to 2 and 1, secret behind the screen. To be clear, all of these cards are considered part of HAL's hand, and when HAL plays a card, it can come from either behind or in front of the screen. Anytime HAL redraws to a full hand, the new card is first taken secretly, and then any one among the hidden cards is placed face up in front of the screen if needed to bring it back to 3. Each crew member player begins with a hand limit of 6, although this can reduce to 4 if the memory unit is terminated. Unlike HAL, the crew members don't permanently hold their full hand limit. They will need to take specific actions in order to draw cards. Each crew member player's hand belongs personally to that player, and players may not show each other their cards. Whether you're a crew member or HAL, a card can leave your hand in 3 ways. It could be played for its effect and discarded. In this case, reveal the card if it wasn't already revealed, resolve its effect, and then discard it face down. For the crew, that's on the discard part of this card, and for HAL, that's on their right-hand side of their HAL screen. Secondly, a card may be resolved for its effect and then trashed. In this case, the card will tell you to trash this card. Here, reveal the card and then trash it face up on your trash pile. So that's on this card for HAL, or above this card for crew members. All trashed cards are public knowledge. Finally, if a player is ever forced to discard a card without its effect, for example by drawing up above their hand limit, then unless otherwise stated, the discarded card is placed face down and must not be revealed to anyone, except in the case of a HAL card which was already visible. For both crew members and HAL, if you ever need to draw but the draw deck is empty, then shuffle the face down discards to a new draw deck without returning the trashed cards. Finally, as mentioned before, crew members are not allowed to show their cards to each other, but they can talk about their cards, and in fact they can communicate freely. However, they must communicate openly. Any communication among the crew member players must be audible to and understandable by the HAL player. Thematically, HAL is always watching and listening, so you cannot do any sneaky tricks to try to circumvent that open communication. That means no whispering, no secret gestures, no speaking in codes or a language the HAL player doesn't speak. Only open communication. To be clear, this doesn't mean you have to communicate truthfully. You're allowed to say whatever you want. You just can't give any secret signal to your teammates that you're lying that HAL can't see or hear. The game is played in turns. Immediately after setup, the HAL player will take the first turns of the game, and each of these will be a full standard HAL turn, resolved one after the other. HAL takes 4 of these starting turns in a 2-player game, 3 in a 3-player game or 2 in a 4-player game. So in this case here, Hal would take the first 3 turns. Then the crew member with the monolith takes a turn before handing the monolith 1 crew member clockwise. Then Hal takes another turn. Then the crew member who now has the monolith. Then Hal again. Then the crew member with the monolith again, and so on. Continually alternating between the next crew member in sequence and Hal until the end of the game is reached. I'll take you through how to take a Hal turn first, and then how to take a crew member turn. On Hal's turn, Hal takes a single action by playing a card either from the face-up or face-down hand. Resolve the card's effect, and then discard, place, or trash it as appropriate. Then redraw to the hand limit, and place a third card in front of the screen if necessary. Hal's deck contains these 8 types of cards. The first 4 are the malfunction cards. And when played, place it face up in a stack beside the appropriate system, layered so you can count the cards that are present. If this placement reaches the trigger, then immediately terminate that system. And in the specific case of memory, crew members must immediately discard down to their new hand limit if required. Hal can keep adding further malfunctions above the minimum limit for termination. To play a closed door card, trash the card. This will be a single-use card. Then take the matching door token and place it on its red closed side on the corresponding space of the board. This now blocks crew member movement. There are 7 doors, 1 through 6 and the pod bay, and exactly 1 Hal card for each door, meaning each door can be closed only once for the game. Scan allows Hal to disrupt other players' hands. Choose 1 crew member who takes the card of their choice from hand, reveals it to all players, and then discards it face down. Scan is discarded after use. When Hal plays the target card, Hal chooses a crew member and names a specific card from the crew member deck. And if the crew member has 1 or more of that card in hand, then they must reveal and discard 1 of them. For example, here, if Dave were accused of having life repair cards, then Dave would have to reveal 1 of them and then discard it. In the case of targeting a logic card, Hal must specifically name the number on the card which is being targeted. The target action is perhaps the biggest reason why the players need to be very careful about what information they reveal. Since if Hal knows where specific logic cards are lying, then the target can be used to disrupt those potential sequences. Target is discarded, not trashed, after use. Hal's final card is lip read, and this does not have an action associated with it. Rather, if lip read is among the 3 visible cards in Hal's hand, this has the passive effect that the crew member players are not allowed to communicate with each other in any way. No conversation, no gestures, nothing. What the crew members can do to deal with this situation we'll learn about next in the crew member turn. A crew member's turn is broken into 3 steps: move, take actions, and draw. Each step is optional, but they must be taken in this order when taken. First is move. You may move up to 2 spaces, although this is reduced to 1 if the grav system is terminated. There are 8 spaces on the board, connected by these paths with doors, and a single movement step takes you through a door to the next location. This, for example, would be moving 2 spaces. You cannot move through a closed door. Right now, these crew members would need to take the long way around to get to the core. Next, take actions. There are 6 standard actions you can take, all of which are connected with cards, and you may take each type of action at most once per turn in any order, but only in your destination after movement. If you want to take actions in the same location where you begin your turn, you'll have to skip moving this turn. You can give a card to a teammate. You must share a space with the crew member you're giving to. Then take the card of your choice from hand and give it to the other player without showing it to anybody else. Players may not take the give action if the lip read card is active. You may repair. In a location with a system that has malfunctions, as a single action, reveal and discard any number of either matching or wild repair cards to remove the same number of malfunctions and return them to Hal's discard. If your repair takes a system below its threshold, then reactivate it. Each character has a specialization in which system it can repair best, allowing that character to spend a repair card of that type to heal 2 malfunctions. The effect does not apply to the wild malfunction cards. And so, for example, Dave repairing life support by spending these 3 cards would remove 5 malfunctions. The exception is Jack of all trades Peter Whitehead, who effectively treats all repair cards as if they were wild. To open, you must spend an open door card from hand, and must be in a location adjacent to at least one locked door. Trash the card and then flip the door over to the open side. This is now permanently open for the rest of the game. Be warned, Hal has 7 doors and you have only 6 open cards, meaning that by game's end there may be 1 door which you can never open. To cancel, you must have a cancel card in hand and either be at the pod bay or the Hal core. Discard the cancel card, then choose one of Hal's 3 face-up cards to discard. Hal then resets the display immediately, as usual. Cancelling is the only way to get rid of lip read. To recover, you must have a recover card in hand and be located at a picture phone. Discard the recover, and then secretly look through the crew member discard pile, not showing it to any other players but gaining useful information, and then take any 1 card of your choice, adding it to your hand and returning the rest face down. Finally, you may start to disconnect Hal. You must have 3 logic cards in an ascending sequence in your hand and must be in the Hal core. Trash those cards, move the Hal marker down 1 step, and Hal must discard down to the new hand size. This discard could be a face-up or face-down card, but remember Hal's face-up hand is always 3 regardless of the total hand size. The logic cards are numbered from 1 to 12. Be careful of which sequences you trash early, since what you leave behind may make it harder or even impossible to complete the 3rd sequence. The final step of your turn is draw. If you're in a space which lets you draw, then draw that many cards into your hand. This can include above your hand limit as long as you immediately discard down. System spaces let you draw 1 card, picture phones let you draw 2, unless the comms system has failed, in which case they too are reduced to 1. As you can see, the locations form a loop with the exception of the pod, and repairing life support requires a player to go into the pod and outside the ship. In the iconic moment in the movie, Hal closes the pod bay doors and refuses to open them. And in the game, this manifests as some special restrictions on the pod. Specifically, only 1 crew member can be in the pod at a time, and that only the repair and move actions are possible there. In particular, that means you cannot take the open door action from the pod, and if Hal closes the doors on you, it will have to be someone who's on the ship who goes to the pod bay with the card to open the door and let you back in. Finally, players should be aware that each character, in addition to its repair specialty, also has a special action or ability. And you should use these specialties to give yourselves the best chance of defeating Hal. The Hal player wins the game immediately upon terminating the life support system or the other 3 systems simultaneously. But if the crew members can get to the Hal core and disconnect with the 3 logic sequences they need, then they have disabled Hal and successfully won the game.
Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, maybe you'd like to watch this next one. Have a great day. Bye!